Greetings everyone. I said that I would make a video to share some of the reasons why people homeschool. You're going to see me looking down at my notes, so I apologize because I took some notes and I wanted to share a couple of things with you. So, some of the reasons that people choose to homeschool is because they know or think that they could get a higher quality education. They know that they could actually advance the child if the child is ready to be advanced without having to wait on a teacher to recognize that the child needs to be advanced into another grade or in another field or another area, or if the child may need help in certain areas as well, and they have to wait for the teacher to recognize that. So that's one of the reasons. Also, for example, like if a child is gifted and the teacher would either not recognize that, and the child should actually be at a higher level, but the teacher or the school may not want to do that. When you homeschool, you have the freedom to take the necessary steps to make sure that you put that gifted child where you feel that child needs to be at that time. And if the child is special needs, you do what is necessary to ensure that you get that child the help that that child needs so that the child could advance or be where they need to be. So it allows you to get a higher quality education, minus the negative school environments. There's a lot of things happening in school today. Some that were not happening a couple of years ago, a few years ago, are now happening in the schools, and some are still the same, like bullying, teachers not having high expectations for certain students because they may be white teachers having low expectations of black students. So that's one. They automatically, whether they admit it or not, subconsciously, they have a low expectation for black students, especially black boys. So, excuse me. So, another thing is that we'll get back to, we elaborate more on that, but I just wanted to say another reason why people may homeschool. And the reason I say why people may homeschool is not because I don't know the answer, because I personally homeschool, and there's other people that I've come across that homeschool, and the numbers are becoming more. It's growing little by little, not as much as I would like, because it's always easier if you have a support group. There's many different ways of homeschooling. You could do the homeschool on your own. You could pay like celebrities do, or some people choose to, is to have a teacher or a tutor come in and do the work for you. That's easy, but that's not what I do. So I choose to do the homeschooling on my own. And yes, in the past we had a couple of tutors. They're very helpful, but the majority of the homeschooling, it is my responsibility. So people could choose to either hire a tutor or teacher to do it for them. They could do it themselves. You don't have to be a teacher to homeschool your children. It just happens that I went to school to be a teacher, elementary school teacher, and everybody thinks, oh, you're a teacher. No, it's not easy, because when you're a mother, things are different when it has to do specifically with your children. Instead of when you're teaching in a classroom and you have a curriculum that you have to follow, and those are not your children, as much as you care for them and you want the best for them and you want them to be successful 100%. However, they're not your children. Whether they learn or not is not the same as your biological children that you're responsible for. At the end of the day, those students that you have, no matter how much you care for them as if they were your own, they go home to their parents. Whether they pass or fail, as long as you did your job, not your responsibility. So it's different. So then they could say, well, you're a teacher, why don't you use the curriculum that you are familiar with at school? It doesn't work that way. People have different reasons why they homeschool. Maybe they don't agree with the curriculum in school. That could be it too. And another misconception, people think that when you go to school to be a teacher, and I can only speak for myself, that they train you to be a teacher. I learned to be a teacher when I had to be in a classroom. That's when I learned to be a teacher. When I went to school, I took calculus that had nothing to do with being an elementary school teacher. Political science that had nothing to do with being an elementary school teacher. Philosophy, which I love, nothing to do with an elementary school teacher. Calculus, nothing to do with an elementary school teacher. I mean, all of those things would have been helpful if they put it together in a way that I could actually use it in an elementary school setting. Psychology, I had to study things that had nothing to do with, like, children in a lab with rats. What about going into the classroom and spending more time analyzing children and their behavior? They do put you to student teach, which I don't even want to go into my student teaching experience. So, anyway, I learned to teach from actually being in the classroom. I have been able to be in the classroom in Manhattan, Bronx, Queens, NASA, and Suffolk before I just stepped away from that and decided not to do that. Instead, I homeschool the children. What would be easier, to be in the classroom or homeschool the children? For me, it's more difficult to homeschool my children than to go to school and teach other people's children based on a curriculum and get a paycheck and get 2 days off and get summers and all of that. Because when you homeschool, at least the way I have set up, there's no days off. There are no days off unless you schedule to take a day off. There's no free time unless you schedule the free time. So that's why it's important to do things in balance. Schedule times to achieve what you need to achieve. Schedule time for yourself too. Because you, the person homeschooling, also need time to be you. So, and that doesn't mean that I'm discouraging people from homeschooling. Like I said, anybody can homeschool, but not everybody should. Everybody could, definitely not everybody should. It is a very big responsibility, huge responsibility, because you're dealing with the future of your children. So that's something that you have to decide within yourself if that's something that you need to do. So anyway, so another thing is that when you homeschool, it allows you to work at the child or children's own pace. So you don't have to time the children. Some people choose to time the children. Some people choose not to. They give them an activity, and when the child is done with that, or to tell them, estimate within a certain time. But if they don't finish it, they don't say, okay, time's up. that allow them to complete the task. So you're not really timing them the same way. If they need extra time, if they didn't get to finish, or if they would like to elaborate on the subject and they really enjoy the subject and you feel that they really are learning from it, you could continue to work on it. So it allows them to work at their own pace. If somebody needs a little extra help, it's more one-on-one. It's like tutoring, more one-on-one. One-on-one with that child or those children. That allows you to see, okay, this is what you need help with. Or this is what you're gifted at. Let's help this flourish. Let's give you more in this field. Let's explore this field. This is what you're good at. Let's explore this specific field so that you could blossom, because obviously you're good at this. Or obviously you're not good at this, so we need to plan to get you up to where we need to get you to. So also allows you to be closer to your children as well. So homeschooling is like being mom. You just don't punch out. So except that, can you imagine going to work and taking your children with in the responsibility of the house and still be expected to do your work the same way? Well, that's maybe just how I feel. And the responsibility of them learning is not on them because they're children, is on the adult that is fully responsible for the child or children learning. Never the children, no matter how well or how bad they may do, it is always the adult that is fully responsible for their failure or their success. So, of course, the child obviously has to do their part. But a child, at the end of the day, is a child. You're there to guide them to be successful. They have to do their part, but you are the adult responsible for making sure and making judgment if this is a good idea or is this a bad idea. Do they need help with this? Or what else can I do to advance them in this subject? Because sometimes they are good at certain things, and it's your job to notice that instead of saying, hey, let's just focus on this. And they obviously are good at something, and you can't just put that aside. You also have to make sure you explore that subject, because that may be the subject that they are naturally good at. So everybody has gifts and talent. So it gives you the chance to teach outside of the box, outside of the Common Core or European curriculum, or whatever kind of U.S. curriculum you call it. It gives you a chance to teach outside of that. Some people choose when they homeschool to follow the curriculum step by step. That is completely your choice. Some people choose to do a mixture of the curriculum that's being taught at that particular grade level, above or below, and teach something else along with that. Some people choose not to deal with the curriculum at all. They either create their own curriculum or adapt a curriculum from someplace else, like Japan or Germany or Russia. Anywhere else that is doing better than the U.S., basically. Because nobody wants to fail. So you're obviously going to adopt a curriculum that is proven to be successful. So if you continue to use a curriculum that has failed, and you continue and you hope that you're going to be successful at it, that's a little silly to continue to use something that is failing you or failing that particular individual. So you have to find in terms of curriculum what curriculum will work for you. Is it the school curriculum that your child is in? Or is it another school that is more advanced, whether it's private school or something like that? Or is it another curriculum from another country? Or do you want to make up your own curriculum, like a cultural curriculum? That's another option. There's many different options. You have to use your own creativity. You cannot feel overwhelmed or discouraged. You went to school. You know what they taught in school. You went through it all. You are the mother or the father or the competent adult. So they're not missing anything. As long as you do what you're supposed to do and they do what they're supposed to do, you're not missing anything. You will only get ahead of where you want them. You will only move forward, because you would not be wasting time with what's happening in the school. You could bypass a lot of nonsense. Tests. A lot of the tests, some people are able to bypass those tests because those tests are culturally biased. It's been proven. Not it's just me saying that. Those tests are culturally biased. Let's see them take a test that only black people could pass. Wouldn't that be culturally biased? They would see it as culturally biased, right? That would be culturally biased, saying, hey, let's give you a test only black people could pass. And then say you're very ignorant because you're not able to perform correctly. No, that's bias. So, not going to elaborate on the culturally biased curriculum. Let's move on. So, obviously, it cuts down on the bullying, which I mentioned. That's another thing that is real in the schools. The bullying and the picking on each other, which is silly, but that's something, unfortunately, that is a learned behavior. Either children learn it from home, or they learn it because they're not getting enough attention at home, or because they being bullied by another child or somebody, or they see it on the TV, on the radio. They are learning it from somewhere. I'm not saying that they always learn it from home, but they are learning it from somewhere. So it's up to you as the adult to decide where they're learning it from. Talk to them and correct it without like talking down at them, accusing them, or making them feel like they're doing something wrong in a way, because they are children. So it's your job as an adult to guide them. So it is your job to educate them, to teach them right from wrong, so they could be where they need to be. So if you don't want to miss a day without your children, because sometimes as years go by, I feel or hear that some parents say, wow, time went so fast, and I spent all this time working, or I spent all this time outside the household, or traveling, or with my job or career or school, or doing anything else. And then you look back, and then your children are all grown up, and you missed everything. So some parents want to spend more time with their children. They don't want to miss a thing. Some people love children. Everybody is not the same parent. So everybody has a different relationship. Some people love children. Some people don't. And that's their choice. So homeschooling allows you flexibility. So you don't have to go by the school calendar. You go by your calendar, your schedule, what you create for yourself, for your children, and the environment that you create for your children. Now for homeschooling, like I said, you also could create support groups where there are other people that are homeschooling in your area, or you may do it through the internet. People use the internet a lot. You could go ahead and do it on Facebook or Instagram or whatever kind of internet you want to do. How do I feel about the internet? The internet has a lot of positive things and it has a lot of negative things. This internet could be used and be a lot faster, a lot more advanced than what it is now, minus the bad things that it has that I'm not going to go into this video. So everything in balance, everything in moderation. So the internet could be used for good. You could use the internet to communicate with other parents, and you could plan days and time where that other parent is going to teach biology, chemistry, calculus, reading, multiplication, division, whatever it is. Or they may be good at cooking. They could prepare some vegan meals. And the children, you could give them a list and the children could get it. They give them a week, the children, whatever time you suit to be the right time. Get your ingredients at a certain time for 1 hour, 2 hours. Go online. We're cooking with this person. Hands on, everybody's cooking. Hands on, we're going to the planetarium. Hands on, we're going to the museum. We're doing Instagram Live. We're going on the museum and we're learning about this. We're doing Facebook. People use Facebook and Instagram and all this stuff for nonsense. Waste of time most of the time. Everybody want to be internet celebrities. Why not use it to educate your children? Hands on, connect with other people that are doing what they're supposed to be doing. So another reason why some people choose to homeschool is that it allows you to decide if the child is ready to enter college or to start working in a specific field much prior those students that are attending school, public school or private school or religious schools, what have you. So it allows you to make that decision. So for example, at 16 you decide, okay, my child is ready to go ahead and attend college. Or you could decide 16, 14, or 7, my child is ready to, or 5, my child is ready to learn how to be an entrepreneur, and let's explore what kind of business will be ideal for them. What are they good at? What do they like? And let's help them blossom and grow their business now so that when they are teenagers, they have a full functional business, or sooner than that. Depends on you. It's up to you. So let's see. Oh, another thing that you bypass is conflict with the teacher. Not everybody has conflict with their teachers. There's a lot of good teachers there. They just follow the curriculum and follow the jobs and what they're supposed to, what they're told to do. They agree to do that as their choice. And they follow that and they care about the children and they want what's in the best interest of the children. They want the absolute best. And there are some that are opposites. There's always a principle of duality. They just go there to get a paycheck. They don't do their job, or they cause more harm than good. Not to go into any specific situation. So another thing you bypass is conflict with the teacher, because there are plenty of times situations that we deal with this primitive issue of race that is very real in this world. The system that we live in is set up a certain type of way that hinders or allows for certain type of people, black people, to be discriminated against on without any questions. Some people just do it unconsciously. It's an unconscious bias, like I mentioned before, that white teachers And even other teachers, even black teachers or any other ethnicity, subconsciously do not have high expectations for black students. And you figure why is that? You figure why is that important? That's very important. If you send your children to school and they spend 5 days a week for a better part of the year, hours, they spend more time with you. They spend more time with this teacher, this stranger, this person than you. And they are influenced, their mind, of what they need to become, what they will become. So those positive and negative experience influence the small child as they grow, as they go about their path. It molds them. They're molded into this being. So it's important to keep in mind the people that you keep around, right? Surround yourself with positive beings, positive people. Eliminate vampires and people that drain you and do not make you feel good or happy or uncomfortable. You eliminate those things, those people from your life that keep you down, that do not allow you to be you, that do not allow you to grow, that feed off your energy and deplete you. Those takers that never give anything good. But yet some of us just put our children in school. We have no idea who these beings are. So I mentioned to somebody, I said, okay, that's interesting that people have some federal jobs and they have to take a drug test. But teachers don't take a drug test. They don't test teachers to see. They don't give them a drug test and an alcohol test. So people say, well, they're fingerprinted. Well, I was fingerprinted. And I do the right thing, obviously. However, I don't drink right away, but however, or do any kind of drugs, legal or illegal drugs. However, if I was fingerprinted, my fingerprints don't say, hey, I'm high like crazy. Hey, I'm drunk like crazy. Alcoholic or a drug dealer working at school. And you figure, well, the principal or the school administration will handle that. Okay, I guess you're relying on more strange people or people that you say hi to and bye to that you don't really know to raise your children. That's another thing to consider. Bottom line, it would be nice to have our own schools so that we do our own process to ensure that these people are truly who they say they are, that they are competent, that they are intelligent, that they are capable, that they have good intent, that they are who they say they are, and they have been proven to be successful so that the children could be successful as well. Instead of just hoping or relying on somebody else to decide for us that this person is a good person, they have good intent, and they know what they're doing, and they're going to teach my children right from wrong. Keep in mind, do the simple math. How many hours a day your children spend at school? How many days out of the week of the year? And how many do they spend with you? Just something for you to think about. So another thing is that it helps your children also to build confidence. Because there's not a lot of things. Obviously, I haven't taught in every school. I haven't been to every school, so that there's no way that I could speak on behalf of every school. There may be some schools, public schools or private schools or religious schools, that may be doing the right thing. Well, religious school, it depends. Because if the religion that you follow is somebody that doesn't look like you, when I'm speaking to a black person, then it doesn't do you any good. It sets you back. So, but there may be some schools, rare schools, they actually are doing the right thing by certain students. Whether they're doing the right thing by black students, public schools and private schools and charter schools, you will have to be in the school, volunteer, and sit if that school have open door policy, where you could sit down once in a while and say, hey, I want to help you out, whatever teacher that is. I want to come in and volunteer. So you could sit down and see what they're doing in the classroom. But still, you're not with the child every day during the duration of their schooling. So that's up to you. So another thing that I don't see a lot of schools taking time is to build confidence, to get to know the child individually instead of focusing on a group of, like focusing on, how to put this, I don't want to use the word agenda. It seems like you're being prepared to work to be an obedient worker. And there's nothing wrong with learning skills. It's just that the school doesn't teach you they don't teach you finance. They don't teach you accounting. Most students are not good at math in the US, and it's not the student's fault. It is how it's taught. If you are taught something that you can't comprehend, how are you going to be good at it? So it is not the children's fault. It is not the students' fault if they're not good at math. Not to say that there are not students that are good at math. I'm sure there's plenty of students that are not good at math. But last time that I looked at the data, most students are struggling with math and reading when it comes to the US. That could change, and I hope it does change. But that makes you wonder why. And one of the reasons is because it's the way that it's being taught. We can't relate to it. How are you supposed to learn something if you can't comprehend it, or you can't relate to it, if you can't use it in your everyday life like that? You have to make it useful for your everyday life. So, yeah, the school needs to, well, I can't even say that the school needs to teach you finance, because the school is funded by a specific group of people there, or corporations, or people that have certain intent. And if they put their money into something, what's going to be taught is what's going to benefit them. And if what benefits them don't benefit you, doesn't matter to them, because they're putting their money in and they expect a certain thing in return. And then that